Hey guys, welcome back to Open It and Play. This is Mike, and today we're going to be looking at the Marvel Legends Cyclops figure from the X-Men series. This Cyclops is from one of the newer comics. It's actually not my thing, but it's not a bad looking Cyclops. It's just not in any of the comics that I've read. And you can see this is from the Chode or Chod Build-A-Figure wave, and I do like Chode or Chod, but to get Chode you don't actually have to buy this guy. So I was buying this guy because he's on clearance here in Japan, and I'm gonna try to use two of him to make the Brothers Grimm. They are kind of a cheap, little bit lame Iron Man bad guy, but two brothers that have kind of like magic powered costumes, but they're kind of dorky or kind of silly, so they're not anything that's probably going to ever be made into Marvel Legends. But I am trying to make a really big assortment of Iron Man villains for my collection, so it's kind of one of my goals. Anyways, let's get this guy out of the box, and he's not going to have any Build-A-Figure pieces because he's not here, as you can see. I did just break this part open, but I haven't checked anything else. This is the plastic-free packaging era, so what you're going to get inside is basically a big cardboard thing. Sort of forms a tray like this. And the figure is tucked away inside here, so we're going to get rid of that, and we'll start with his accessories. So the accessories on this guy are probably going to be really limited. You can just tear this open for our convenience. So he does come with a hand that is sort of focusing his optic blast. Can be used to put his hand up to his visor to be able to shoot. Now, if you don't know Cyclops, he's a mutant that has a kind of concussive blast that can only be stopped by, I guess it's a ruby quartz lens. But if he doesn't filter it with that, then he is effectively shooting his beam all the time. And since it's a concussive blast, not like a laser blast, then this blast is going to basically blow a hole in something or push something away from him. It's kind of like Iron Man's repulsor blasts. But yeah, if he focuses it into a thin stream, I think it's more powerful, or at least he can make it more powerful. And if he doesn't focus it, then I think it's more of a wide beam that will just basically spread its damage over a wider area. But yeah, Cyclops is a cool character, Scott Slim Summers, but yeah, it's just not the costume that I want for this guy. I'm Jim Lee. It's very cliche, but I'm a Jim Lee Cyclops kind of guy. I like the 80s costumes too, but so if you see the character, he does have a lot of dark blue, so he's basically one color. But he does have these gold highlights on the paint. They're almost like ridges, but they are sculpted in, and then they have a bit of blue deco on there. Sorry, blue deco. Why did I say blue? Gold deco over the dark blue. And then he has these kind of cheaper, just plastic, gold-colored plastic for pieces on his wrists, his belt, these kind of ankle bands, and a very thin layer here by his boot. So it's basically above his boot, or to mark where his boot is. But oddly enough, that part does not rotate when you rotate his boot. So it kind of stands out in a strange way. But this figure doesn't have any big effect for the optic blast, but it does have a little tiny wispy part here, so it's kind of like almost smoking or leaking energy. And I think, yeah, we can port this out. So you should be able to use this with your other Cyclops figures. And if you can't, you can probably trim it just a tiny bit to make it work with them. Without that part in, he does look a little bit different. He's just got an empty hole. But I think this part will probably be compatible with the other optic blast effects that come with some of the other Cyclopses. So I think this Cyclops is from the wave that has Emma Frost as his wife or his girlfriend, but it's much newer comics that I'm not exactly familiar with. Sorry, he really fell off this. Okay, I'll put that back in so don't lose it easily. Okay, it just goes in like that. All right, and sorry, it looks like when he fell, the focus changed on the camera. Okay, let's take a look at his articulation. So his head is on usual disc hinge with a ball joint at the top. He does have good range, or it moves really smooth, but he's got almost no attitude. You can't really swivel his head back and forth to give him sort of like a more unique look. That's a shame, but that's pretty common. I wish it was just a little bit more wobbly. Okay, and then he does have butterfly joints. So his butterfly joints, these are stiff right out of the box, but butterfly joints will get you a little bit of extra range. It looks like about that far, and then they'll go back. Sorry, I'll put his arms down so you can get a better idea. They go back, but they don't go back that far. It's not maybe the best designed butterfly joint. It's better than nothing, of course, but okay. And then his ab crunch, and he's turns at the waist. His arms will go all the way around, of course. He's got the bicep cut. He's got double jointed pinless elbows that will get you that far, and the usual wrists that hinge and rotate. Okay, and then he can kick up to there. That's pretty good. And his legs go back just a tiny bit. It's barely, but I think it would count as back for most people, just a little bit. Okay, and it does have the thigh cut. It does break up the sculpt a little bit, but it's just kind of something you can't avoid for this situation. Oh, and his knee joint is really stiff out of the box, but it'll get you back that far. Okay, and then like we said before, he does have the boot cut here, and his ankles have the hinge and the ankle pivot. So overall, he's a pretty smooth to move figure. I think he's stiff when you just get him out of the box, but overall I'd say he's moves pretty well. But let's see if I can get him to stand here and we'll do some height comparisons. I just said he can move pretty well, but his ankles are a bit stiff. Come on, Cyclops. Okay. So if we compare him real quick, there he is next to this modular Iron Man, kind of from the animated series look. There he is next to Tigra. Tigra is showing a little bit of attitude today, and just for something a little bit different, there he is next to a Kulu World skeleton. His legs are a little bit bent out of shape, but yeah, so I think this is a pretty good figure. It has absolutely no paint on it, only that tiny gold trim, so it's kind of sad in that way, but the The gold paint on mine, you know, where the gold trim is, it's actually painted well. But yeah, so little detail on this figure. Obviously, this is a design of Cyclops that would have less detail needed because of the dark blue. It hides a lot. If he had a lot of shading, you may not be able to see a whole lot. But yeah, it would be great if they could put a little more effort into these things. Sorry, it's not focused. But yeah, so that's that Cyclops. I think it might be called the Astonishing X-Men run, if I remember right. But yeah, get him for customizing, get him for Cyclops on your team if you've got a modern version of the team. Okay, thank you guys for joining me on this one. Sorry, it's kind of longer than I thought it would be for such a simple figure, but see you in the next one. Bye for now.